Hey guys, Jason, DLT Trading. I'm here with a good friend of mine and industry legend, Rick Hinderer of Hinderer Knives.
Glad to be here.
Rick, how many blade shows have you been to?
This is actually, well, we were just discussing that. It's either 38 or 39 straight blade shows. So I started going to the blade show when it was in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I think I was there for 2 or 3 years before they moved it to Atlanta. So yeah, and the big thing is just straight. I've never missed one.
38 years straight.
38 years straight. Every year at this time of the year, the pilgrimage to...
That's amazing without missing one. So you've literally been to this show more years than a lot of our viewers back home have been alive.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah, it kind of makes me feel old, but...
When did you start coming down when you were 12 or what?
Absolutely, yeah. I was like 9 years old.
There you go. There you go. So you got, you guys always bring the heat. You got some cool stuff coming out, I know. Automatics have been a big thing. We've sold a lot of your automatics. So before we talk about the automatics, you were real integral in helping the state of Ohio become more auto-friendly, correct?
Yes.
Which helped not only your brand, but all of the brands that sell automatics.
Yeah.
And automatics have become a big area of growth in the industry. So really a big accomplishment there. You actually went up to the legislature and everything, didn't you?
Yeah. So that was in Ohio. We had a law that not only it was very gray area law on owning automatics. Carrying automatics was not allowed, and a big thing for me was the manufacture of automatic knives, switchblades, was against the law. So I could not legally manufacture automatic knives. So I worked with Todd Rathner at Knife Rights, and we started the process, and it actually took like 5 years. You know, the wheels of, that's one thing I learned an awful lot about government and everything during that time. And I went down to the State House. I went in front of these committees, and I tell you what, I was pretty nervous. That was
I bet.
That was when I standing at a podium and having to read my statement I wanted to read, and like then they opened it up for questions, and I was like petrified. I'm like, oh my gosh, and then especially the one senator, he asked me, he said, why did this law get passed in the first place? And back in 1956.
Yeah.
And for the answer just popped into my head. It was like divine, and it was because of a movie.
That's what I've always thought, right?
Yeah.
The old movies in the 50s with the switchblades.
Yes.
And then politicians were like, oh, this is really bad.
Yeah. We have to do something.
I mean, when you look at it pragmatically, a fixed blade is already open, right?
Yeah.
So that's fine to carry, but an automatic somehow is so dangerous.
Yeah.
And, across the country, we've seen states become much more automatic friendly, and there has been zero increase in crime. None. I mean, it's absolutely none. All states need to be automatic friendly. We're getting closer to that. So on behalf of the entire industry, thanks for your efforts in the state of Ohio in getting that done.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And because of that, I was able to, to come up with, our version of the button lock automatic, and it's been fantastic.
I mean, they've sold ridiculously well.
Yeah. And we're actually, we came out 2 years ago. It was right after the law got overturned, and we came out with our automatic, and we had it in we made it in a titanium version, all titanium.
Full tie, both sides.
Full tie,
right.
Yeah. And those have done really, really well. So I was like, well, I need to come out with the aluminum, and so we can get the price down, the MSRP down, and so it be more available to more people.
Yep.
But at the same time, I wanted to do the aluminum automatic, but of course, the way I look at things, I'm like, I want to improve this mechanism. I want to address an issue that I felt was an issue, with some of the wearability and the design. So I thought, well, I'm already, the toughness of an all titanium, whereas all the moving parts are moving in the 6L40 titanium. So I added a liner, a titanium liner, and it's just a half liner. And what it is it all of the moving parts, the stop pin, the plunger, actually works on the titanium.
Everything that's under torque and in the opening mechanism is
now
basically cased in titanium.
Yeah.
So really neat, and I love the price point. You're getting a price point of an aluminum knife that still has the integrity of a titanium knife.
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely. You're not really giving up anything with going with this that we did with the titanium.
And a very attractive price point also.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we're the price point is $450, $350. This the inlays, which is really cool because obviously my brand is make it your own.
Customize it.
It's always been that way.
Yep. And
so with the aluminum auto, we took that extra step in doing the inlays where you can be able to add inlays. They're screwed in by 2 screws.
So you can swap them. You can
swap them, and just like with all of our other models, you can be able to make it your own.
Awesome. So guys, check out the automatics, available in titanium. Kind of the base model, which is going to be aluminum, again with the titanium. And then the dressed up version, which has inlays, various inlays. And $375, correct? And either $350 or $375, and $450, $475.
I got a blank in my face because I'm like, you know, I'm riding horses while they're...
Well, yes. Yeah, I get it. Kind of how I am too, right? Very nice price point though. And then I know on the, you're known for, when I think of your 2 most iconic grinds, for me personally, Spanto and the Slicer. Love the Spanto, absolutely love the Slicer. The geometry on it is just amazing. Geometry now is even a little bit better, correct?
Yes.
In my opinion. Yes. What do you guys do with the Slicer grind?
What we do with the Slicer grind, and only the Slicer grind, let me go back and kind of, when I came up with the Slicer grind, and of course I call it Slicer because the Spanto is a all-around working knife as far as it's very tough. The tip of it's armored so that you can be able to do some prying and everything. So it has more of a specific, you know, a type work envelope. The Slicer is more for slicing. I designed the blade, I designed the grind to be maximum in sliceability.
Tall grind.
That's
tall grind, thin behind the edge.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. And the fact that you've got a lot of grind, more of a
taller bevel.
Yeah. So I wanted to take that a little bit further. In a hollow, I decided to go with the hollow grind just on the Slicer because we're gaining a little bit more of the sliceability. And as I explained in a video that I did before, explaining our grind, it's kind of like the bow of a ship, okay? When you're cutting something, okay, you're splitting the material that you're cutting. So the material, whatever it is, tomato, it hits the edge and then it separates like this, okay? So a flat grind, you're going to have a little bit more friction.
Almost like a wedge going through.
Exactly. Yep. Whereas a hollow grind, our hollow grind is like the bow of a ship cutting through the water. It kind of, because you look at the bow of a ship.
It's slicing it before it actually hits the sides.
Exactly. So it comes up like this. So we're getting a little bit of that type of action from the geometry of this hollow grind. Now a lot of folks will see that it's not readily apparent it's even a hollow grind because everybody is used to seeing that deep hollow. What I did is I wanted to do a light hollow, just enough to get that thinner behind the edge, get that action of slicing, but I didn't want to really give up a lot of durability, of strength. So, because again, that's what our knives are known for. So this hollow is a really, once you pick it up and you can feel it, you can look at it, you can see it. But
if you glanced at it, you'd think it was flat grown.
Exactly.
Because it's hollow grown on a really big wheel. Yeah. So the radius is very minimal.
Very minimal. Yep. But you can definitely, when you feel it, you can feel the hollow.
Behind the edge, it's nice and thin.
You can feel the really nice behind the edge thinness, and then it.
I don't use my knives as pry bars usually. I use them to cut stuff. So I've always liked the Slicer grind. Yeah. But with the hollow grind on, I absolutely love that. It's just again what you guys are kind of known for. incremental, constant improvement, right?
Always,
never say, hey, we've sold at this point tens or hundreds of thousands of XM18s. It's good enough. Constant, continual improvement in making the product better.
Absolutely. You know, as long as I'm alive, my brain is going to keep working. You know, and I'm always like, okay, let's take it one step further. Let's go to the next. Let's go to the next. How can I improve this? How can I improve that, or make what I feel is better? And that's where innovation really starts. If you look at something just like this, when I wanted to do my version of the aluminum button lock automatic, and these have been done for a long time, all the way back from the first ones, you know, that Charlie Ox did. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, I can improve it.
Mm-hmm. That was, I think it was a genius idea doing that. It allows you to keep the cost down, but you still have the integrity.
Exactly.
Speaking of continual improvement, R&D, I hear you're doing some R&D now. You're getting out and doing some things that maybe you did years ago. For the folks back home watching. Tell us a little bit about where Rick Hinderer Knives started 30 years ago, and kind of how it's come full circle and what you're doing a little bit in your free time now. Yeah,
that's really it's a fascinating question, because for me personally, I'm at a time of true full circle. When I started out, I was a horse trainer. I trained horses for a living, and I was also a farrier. And the work as a farrier kind of got me into making knives, because I got bored turning horseshoes one day, and so I made a knife out of a plow point, and I thought, wow, this is really cool. I forged it, and it was actually my shoeing customers, my training customers, that were my first knife customers. So that was kind of like the start. That was the start of Rick Hinderer Knives. I made more knives, gradually more knives, and did less horses. So come all the way back around to almost 40 years later. So I have Rick Hinderer Knives, the shop, and 3 years ago I bought a farm right next door, and one of the reasons why I bought it, because there was a building on it that I'm like, that is a blacksmith shop, and so in those preceding 2.5, 3 years, I filled that shop full of my forging tools, forges, and presses and power hammers, and I'm back in forging again. That
is so cool.
And it is so neat. And I also have what I call my little knife shop. It's in another building, which is I converted to milking parlor.
Okay.
And you guys know dairy cows.
There's a lot of dairy up by us. Yep.
So I took that old milking parlor, and I've got all my knife making tools in there, my mill, my grinders. And so I'm back to, it's kind of like R&D.
Yep.
You know, I'm back to making knives just one at a time, just to grinding it. Oh, let's try this, let's try that. And I've already come up with new blade styles and things like that.
That will then transfer
over into the production area.
That is really cool.
In fact, one day I was in the shop forging, and I told myself, I said, I need to finish this blade up, because I got a horse to work. And I sat there and I just got goosebumps. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was saying
40 years ago.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm like, this is a real full circle.
That's neat. One that I'm gonna throw out at you, hopefully I don't catch you too flat-footed here. Any of your first customers, when you were doing the horseshoeing, any of those people still have some of your original knives?
Oh,
or do
absolutely.
You think they do, really?
Absolutely.
And do they know what those knives are probably worth at this point?
You know, it's funny. Some of the ones that I've run into, you know, and I've met them actually at a couple horse events. You know, they're like, wow, you back into horses? And I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm not doing it, you know, for a living. And those were my first knife customers.
Right.
And they, in a lot of ways, they don't know what really happened to me in these intervening years. You know,
wow.
So those knives that they have, they're still using them, and it just really warms my heart, because I mean they bought them to use.
Yep.
40 years later, they're still using that knife, and that's what this is about.
So that's kind of where I was going with that, and what I thought in this industry, like, you're a rock star, you're on the Mount Rushmore of American cutlery, but locally, you're just a guy that makes good knives, and they're carrying it, cutting stuff with it, and it could be worth thousands of dollars because it's one of the original Rick Hinderer Knives, but to them, it's just a high quality tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's pretty cool, pretty satisfying as a knife maker too, that they're still out there using it.
Yeah, it's very satisfying. You got a 4-year-old knife, and some of them I look at them and I'm like, wow, I did a good job, you know, because they're using them on their farms or hunting and things like that. And yeah, you know, on that note, yeah, locally, a lot of people don't even know.
He's just some guy that makes knives.
Well, they don't even know how to make knives. They're
is
like,
that right?
What is that building over there? You know, we thought it was a Cabela's or something.
Is
you
that
know?
right?
And, yeah, we've had people stop in our building and, you know, they're looking for a retail job. They think it's Cabela's.
Okay.
I don't have a sign on the building, so it's really pretty funny.
That's funny. Rick, always a pleasure.
Jason.
Thanks for stopping by.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it. Have a good rest of the show.
Thanks, you do the same.
Thank you.
Thanks.